Okay, let's talk about fractions. Fractions are one of the most powerful ideas in mathematics because there are so many different ways to use them. For example, 1 to 2 represents a ratio, or it's 0.5, or it can represent half a pizza, or 3 balls out of 6. But because fractions can be used to describe so many different ideas, they can also be confusing. The goal of this module is to help to unravel the power behind fractions and their different interpretations. Up until now, most students have thought of numbers as representing an amount that they can count, such as 4 apples or 6 balls. These values can be represented with single digits, 4 or 6. But a fraction is a new concept. We often start by talking about parts of a whole. A pizza, for example, can be broken into 2 equal parts, and one part of the 2 is represented by 2 digits separated by a vertical line that we call 1/2. We're introducing a more complex idea, a single number that describes part of a whole. So one big conceptual leap that students need to make is that with fractions, that single value is represented by these 2 numbers. The top number, we all know, is called the numerator. The bottom is called the denominator. And you may never have known this, I sure didn't, but this middle line that separates the 2 is called a vinculum. V-I-N-C-U-L-U-M. It's a Latin word, and it means bond, and it literally binds the numerator and denominator together to create one number. It was introduced, incidentally, by a Moroccan mathematician named Abu Bakr al-Hazar in the 12th century. It's interesting to notice that many students, when asked how many numbers are represented by this symbol, will say 2. You might remind them that the idea of having 2 digits representing one number is not new. They might think that 1, 2, 3, like this, is 3 digits, but they almost certainly would recognize this as 213, with the different digits representing different place values. But even so, the 2 digits in a fraction represent a much more complex idea in that the fraction can be used to describe many different situations. So let's look at some of these situations. Consider the number 3/4. What exactly does the number 3/4 mean? It may seem simple, but in fact, you'll see it means many things. First and foremost, 3/4 represents a number, a single number with a certain value in the rational number system, the same way that 4 is a member of the whole number system. We can represent this number as a point on a number line. We want our students to be really clear that mathematically speaking, a fraction is a number. Like the whole numbers, fractions can describe different ideas, but where whole numbers are generally limited to describing things that we can count, a fraction is much more versatile. This versatility comes from the fact that a fraction defines that single number by specifying a relation between 2 other numbers. So, for example, what kinds of things can 3/4, that number, describe? The most common usage is that it describes 3 parts of a whole that we've broken into 4 equal parts. But look how differently we can do that. 3/4 can describe 3 items out of a group of 4 items, where now the whole represents all 4 items. 3/4 can describe a sum of unit parts, each unit being a fourth, and in this case we have 3/4 of individual wholes that are 1. 3/4 can describe a ratio, as in 3 purple balls to 4 orange balls. 3/4 can describe a rate, as in Francisco can mow 3 lawns in 4 hours, or I can drive 3 miles in 4 minutes. 3/4 can describe a measurement, as in 3/4 of the distance from A to B. 3/4 can describe an operator, as in Sam has 3/4 as much as Eliza. 3/4 can describe an amount of change. For example, a price of $1 increased by 3/4 represents a new price of $1.75, since 75 cents is 3/4 of the original price. And finally, 3/4 can describe a quotient, which is useful in converting from fractions into decimals. This list is not complete, but it's enough to appreciate why fractions can confuse people. We'll go into more detail about each of these interpretations in the following sections. Throughout them all, keep in mind that mathematically a fraction is a single number. Here are some assessment questions that you can think through to help you understand these ideas more fully.